Chapter 5: Promoting Resiliency. Every homeless system is made up of organizations running programs. That organization is made up of teams keeping services active, and every team is made up of individual people. Trauma-informed starts with you. What makes trauma-informed care important to you? If you could change or improve one aspect of your practice, what would it be? Pause the video now to complete the activity on page 32. In order to provide support to someone who has experienced trauma, you have to look at causes, triggers, reactions, and resiliency. The cause is important, the roots. It can either hold someone steady or trap them where they're at, depending on your perspective. What triggers someone could be simple: the lighting, the feel as they walk through the entryway. You reminded them consciously or subconsciously of someone that pushed them into a trauma response in the past. The reaction is the behavior that most people see. It is the thing that often gets someone banned from services. Switching gears to some tactical solutions. The term trauma-informed design is a concept that is really beginning to gain momentum. Trauma-informed design explores ideas for built environments that supports the tenets of trauma-informed care. It's being picked up by architects, interior designers, and even engineers. Trauma-informed design attempts to create spaces that are welcoming, that feel safe and are safe, that provide options for completing work and collaborating, space that meets privacy needs and allows for support to be provided, space that prevents re-traumatizing and promotes resiliency. There are opportunities everywhere to make our workspaces more trauma-informed. Think about the spaces you provide services in. Where are you meeting with clients, with families? Are they with their kids or not? Are you driving people around? Your car could become a more trauma-informed space. Where are you completing documentation? Where are you meeting with colleagues to collaborate? Are the spaces private or not? You won't always have a ton of options, so think about what options you do have. What do you need to get done, and what's the best space to do it? That includes for both you and the people you're working with. Are you doing documentation at home? Managers, are you allowing documentation at home? Where are people waiting? What does the room look like? Who's up there? Are they alone? How many people are in that waiting room at any time? And what do they really have to do while they're waiting? What could you be doing with that time that's more trauma-informed? Can you help people to really have things to do and be prepared for appointments? Can you make your spaces more housing first, more housing friendly, and welcoming in that way? There's opportunity not just for the space that you're working in with the families that you're serving, but for everybody who's working in the building, in the industry. If you are in a space that provides services for unhoused families, individuals, young people, couples, anyone, if you work here or need to be here or aren't sure if you're supposed to be here, then there's probably a need for trauma-informed spaces that promote resiliency as much as possible. I'm sure all this design talk sounds really great. Sounds nice to be an architect and an engineer, someone who gets to sit and think about future buildings. It's not like you're sitting at a desk or a drafting table designing the space before you walk into the meeting. I'm going to take a really random stab in the dark here and guess that, assuming you work in some sort of homeless service, pick your acronym, whatever it is, that people are in the waiting room. Some of them probably still don't know where they're going tonight. Some of them are probably upset. It's probably just overall uncomfortable in there. Whatever it is, I bet the room wasn't made to do what it's doing. It was probably hard to find a quiet space with decent internet, enough screens to get this training done easily. Probably wasn't even that easy to get it done all at once. I hope you've eaten today. If not, you deserve to. Probably got caught up trying to get those landlord docs done and submitted and off your plate, really, really wanting that move-in to happen for that family next week. And you know those deadlines. Documentation's probably going to have to wait until tomorrow, I'm guessing, huh? I hope that you're doing whatever it is that you're really looking forward to, and whatever it is, you probably can't be late, and work probably makes you late a lot. Of course, I'm saying all of this, assuming that you aren't currently on the night shift at the shelter, and if you are listening there, I know your day is crazy too. I know that you're crazy busy, and I appreciate that you've gotten this far in this training. I'm going to make sure that this doesn't have to be super complicated. In reality, we really only have so many options. There's only so much time. You can only offer so much. Say that to those you're working with. Set realistic boundaries and tell them what you do and don't have control over, and let them take it from there. Follow with support. Managers and directors, this goes for all of us. This is how we get to client-driven work, by letting the families who come into us drive what happens, by having any decisions in their power that we possibly can give them. Step 1. Know what options are available to you. What rooms exist that you can meet in? What housing options exist that you have access to? What's in your job and what isn't? Can you leave the office? Can you not? Know what you can do and what you can't, and let people know that as soon as you know. Hopefully it's become clear by now that choice and self-determination are really important in trauma-informed care. Not only are they really important, they're also the way that you can practice this. When you know what you have to offer, all you have to do is ask the person which way they want to go. What do they prefer? You might only have one option. If you want to ask someone where they want to meet, but you really only have this one semi-private space, let them know. Let them know what your options are and aren't. And then how would they want to use that space? Be transparent. Let people know if there will be a wait. Let them know how much time you have to spend. Let them know any items you have to accomplish, like getting a form signed or asking a specific question. And then ask them if they have anything that's the same. How much time do they have? Give what you ask for. And then provide opportunities and options. Think about how someone's waiting in that room. What could you provide for them that could help make meetings go faster, provide more ownership in housing plans, keep things moving along? Do you have computers in your waiting room? It's surprisingly easier than you think. Give people opportunities to participate in their own housing plan, and you'd be surprised at how much faster they go. Trust that the people coming to you don't want to be in the situation they're in. And if you provide everything that you've got in terms of options and choice and make them an opportunity, then you can drive from the back with support. And the work becomes a whole lot easier on everyone. People become invested in their plans, and they can actually run with it. You have to work within your reality. It's great to talk about trauma-informed design and spaces that promote resiliency, but I know you don't get to design your office space. Can you put some plants around? Can you put pictures of plants up? Can you figure out what signs are on the bathroom that are going to make people feel the most welcome? Put a rainbow sign around your welcome sign so that people know that this is a safe space. You need to have a space to decompress, express necessary emotions, be vulnerable. This is really tough work with people who are in very tough situations. Often we're in our own situations ourselves. Life isn't that easy. Maybe put up a punching bag, some boxing gloves in a corner next to a yoga mat, and maybe a pillow to scream into. I don't know, be creative. It doesn't have to be major. It's great to talk about making spaces zen and healing and all fluffy. If you can, awesome. But it can also be really simple. You'd be surprised at how far a cup of coffee goes in making people feel welcome. Let's talk specifically about families and promoting resiliency with families and why it's more complex. Each individual within this family is their own person in environment with their own environmental influences and intersectional identity. There is high potential for traumatic experiences, which for children could be creating lifelong challenges. Probably for adults too, but the developing brain is especially vulnerable. All of this is stressful for everyone, and you. It's stressful for the provider. It's stressful for people who are working in services to keep providers able to do their job. It's stressful for everyone. Homelessness is stressful. It's trauma. I think I've said that a few times in this training. There are some specific considerations when working with families, specifically with minors in the care of adults, that we have to discuss. We're not going to go too far into these in this video, but they are going to be topics of conversation, activities in the workshop, and the debrief. It's important to know the other institutions that you have to work with when working with families experiencing homelessness. Child welfare is unavoidable. It can feel really difficult to begin to build rapport with your child welfare system. Make sure that you're building connections with the caseworkers and managers who are working in your community. It's them you have to collaborate with. Systems change is great, but you can change a family's life by not giving them a caseload of case managers. Mandated reporting will always be a consideration. When children are at risk, there is a duty to report when you are working with them. This training is not going to go over mandated reporting in detail as it varies from state to state, province to province, country to country. There is some generals that we will discuss within the workshop, but you should check in about mandated reporting and make sure that you're getting training on it. If you're working with families, you cannot be trauma informed if you are not trained on mandated reporting. There is just the added consideration that for every family coming in, if they're getting one case manager, just the same way that a single individual adult would, that might be a lot of people per case, and there might be a lot of complexities. It's okay that caseloads are not as high when working with families. It's also a reality that sometimes the flow never stops from the front door, and it's hard to say no, and we always say that we're at capacity, and we are mentally, probably financially, we're at capacity. But there's families sleeping outside, and we're here doing the work. And so you're going to have caseloads that are way too high and way too complex. I go back to working with other institutions. Know the schools. Know the community-based resources that provide after-school care. Know child care and regional centers and all of those resources that will help families to keep going. You can't be those things. The homeless system shouldn't be those things. Homelessness should be rare, brief, and just solved easily with housing. And so these are things that we have to consider as we try to care for families in a trauma-informed way. The action is to promote resiliency. You do this by relying on the core principles and following the roadmap we set out in the beginning. You can do it the same for those you're supporting as you've done for yourself through this training. Housing first matters. Not the buzzword that means getting as many people into any type of sheltered space and calling it housing, but really housing. And I mean that housing in a safe space to rest is essential for well-being. And housing is the resource that you have to offer, whether it be an actual shelter that leads to housing, or a housing program that pays for a deposit, or maybe you actually have a voucher or a long-term subsidy or access into a unit. Whatever it is that you're offering, lead with housing. It's what you have. That's it for the video. Thanks for participating. Feel free to go back and look at the workbook, or just put it away and don't look at it again till the workshop. We'll pick it up and take it from here together. See you again soon.